Your home can be more than just a home. It can be your own personal fitness retreat, a place where you break a sweat, break your personal record, or just get a break in the day. Johnson Fitness and Wellness is your partner in creating the perfect home gym. And now, enjoy up to 50% off top-rated treadmills, ellipticals starting at $5.99, and major discounts on strength equipment. Visit a local store or johnsonfitness.com. Your home gym is just a few steps away.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. You are listening to Sunday Talk with Kellie and Lisa. I am the Kellie portion of that equation. Are you back with us?
Good morning,
Lisa?
everyone.
You know, we were talking a little bit before the show, like we do, and this has just been the weirdest energy so far this year. Things have just been happening, and everyone you talk to is dealing with something fairly heavy, and, you know, it just seems like we're all feeling the stress, whether it is, you know, stress of just being in the winter and the lack of sunlight, or whether it is the stress of, oh, I shouldn't have spent that much over the holidays or eaten that much or whatever it was you did. So I kind of want to start this week with just kind of talking through what's been going on with us and see how many of you can kind of relate to what's been happening. As everyone on the planet by now knows, I do animal rescue. And, you know, having baby animals is just something that if you've never dealt with this situation, everyone looks at a puppy or a kitten, oh, they're so cute. No, they are demonic. They may be cute demonic entities, but, you know, I've had these two puppies for so long that now they are now mine, and I am keeping them forever. But training puppies is difficult enough with one. When you have two into the equation, I just call them the destruction duo, because that's kind of what it's like. So that would be enough. And I also have kittens and, you know, older dog and extra horses, and it's just crazy around here. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, I get it. I understand. You know, we all have something we're dealing with. And and people around here have told me, well, you did this to yourself. Well, yes, I did, but if not me, who? And that's kind of the way I look at animal rescue. So, yeah, it's been kind of a tedious since the beginning of the year. How's your life going so far in 2020?
You know, I actually kind of enjoy it so far. You know, I know that things happen, you know, life happens. I inadvertently signed myself up for 3 different challenges. One's a 12-week program, one was only 5 days, and another one's like 28 days. And it's been kind of a juggle trying to keep up with all of them. Notice I said juggle, not struggle, but I am actually enjoying these challenges and, you know, releasing some of the things from the past. It doesn't happen overnight. It is a continual process, but, you know, I have enjoyed that so far. And then I just have to shout out that by using my big, beautiful brain that I have, I was able to manifest the perfect job. I just landed my dream job. I'm so excited. I had an interview last week, and everything was great. They offered me the job within 30 minutes of the interview, so I was just really super excited about that. And I continually manifest this role in my life, so it's been incredible. And you know, I'm still learning a lot of the lessons that I need to learn. People are being placed in my life to help me with those, but that just, you know, shift in mindset has been something I've really focused on this year, and really taking the intention of these 3 different workshops that I'm in, or challenges. I've noticed a huge difference, and I just, I want to keep perpetuating that. So this wasn't something that happened overnight. I can look back 5 years ago. Oh my gosh, when you and I were doing all those books together and whatnot, like I can look back and say, well, what I have now was something that I wanted back then, and I might not have necessarily written the hardcore goal about it, but I can honestly see the work that was being done up to now, about 5-ish years ago, up to now is definitely, it's paying off. And I've started to do that manifestation, or started to see the manifestation of what I was wanting to manifest in my life. So it's been a very interesting 2022, and we're only 16 days in. So, yeah.
Well, congratulations on the new job. That is huge. And, there are people that are going through wonderful, wonderful things, too. I don't want to make it sound like everybody on the planet is down right now, but there is an awful lot of heavy energy. So congratulations for surfing above it. That's amazing. One of the things that we talked about, and I've been wanting to address this topic actually on this show for a while, is what is referred to as money magic or love magic or whatever magic. And in my opinion, and I've been associated with many different religions, and I've investigated them all, and I've delved into spiritual alchemy and, magic and all that kind of stuff. Magic is simply a heartfelt prayer combined with a ritual. That's what it is. Yeah. So whatever you're looking for right now this year, even if it is simply peace, and believe me, that's something I've been manifesting lately, is bringing more peace, more calm into the planet and into my life too, because it's very chaotic right now. If it helps you to focus your intention to develop your own ritual, candles, crystals, whatever it is that you want to play with, make sure your intention is based around what is in the highest and best good for everyone involved. And really, last week we kind of talked about self-esteem and self-worth and how that relates to everything else in your life. And a really great ritual to do for yourself when you are maybe you're feeling lost, maybe you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe you're happy, but whatever you're feeling, a great ritual to do for yourself is gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
You just pull out some crystals or pretty rocks or something that symbolizes being grateful to you. I know someone who uses a wooden cross that they actually made for that purpose. But whatever reminds you of something to be grateful for. I have a giant rose quartz heart. That's usually my focus point. But pick something that resonates. Even if it's just a candle, you can light a candle. Something to direct your focus on being grateful. And if you're going through some tough times, you can still find things to be grateful for. I know in my heart, because I've done this for so long, that when these puppies are adult dogs, I'm going to miss all of their destruction antics that they did when they were puppies. I know that. So even when I'm chasing them through the house with because one of them's grabbed a throat pillow, or yesterday one of them ate my glasses.
Oh,
I know. I know. But I know I'm going to look back on these days and laugh. Anyone who has survived toddlers can tell you, no matter how old that toddler is today, there are times when you look at them and you think, oh, I so miss that little toddler who was getting into this or doing that. So be grateful in every moment. This year I've been focusing on being grateful for my chaos. Doesn't mean I want more of it necessarily, but I know through experience that these are very, very, very precious days with baby animals, not all of whom will remain here forever. So in coming years, I can think back about that kitten or that puppy that got the home with these wonderful people and they lived there, and I'll remember those things. And that's something that personally I'm very proud of myself for doing, because animal rescue is a lot of work. But it goes with anything. You know, you just got a new job. That's certainly something to be grateful for. You know, people who are between jobs haven't found that perfect job fit yet. Be grateful that you have been given this time as downtime to heal and figure out what it is you really, really, really want. Because sometimes we go through life just, you know, hit or miss. Well, I'll try this. Well, that didn't work. Okay, I'll try this over here. And it's not necessarily that that's a bad thing to do, but eventually you need to find something that feeds your passion, feeds your heart and soul. So what do you think?
I completely agree. And so if anybody's been listening since we came back on air, the week before Thanksgiving, I was actually fired from the role that I was at with a company. And while it wasn't a surprise, it was still a blow, right? And so the week after, I went on vacation and just kind of put being unemployed, being fired to the back burner, and I allowed myself to work. It was hard. This was not easy. It definitely was work, but I allowed myself to really look at the job. And so you mentioned gratitude. Let me start from there. I tried so hard every day to just be grateful for the job that I had. However, there were some very underlying aspects about the job, particularly with my direct management, that I just couldn't get on board with. No matter how hard I tried, I really was an outsider to the department that I was in. I didn't want to go along with the crowd just to fit in and just to have my place in that department, because at the end of the day, what I would have had to go along with did not align with me professionally or personally, and I was not willing to settle. I was not willing to sell myself short, and I was not willing to devalue my values and morals for a paycheck. So even though it was really hard, and it was a huge kick in the gut, and of course there's that fear of, oh my God, how am I going to pay my bills? You know, I have this certain lifestyle, and I have to maintain that lifestyle. But I allowed myself to really look at what happened. Why did I take that role to begin with? I didn't need that role, but long story, not time to get into it in this show, but, I did take that role out of desperation because I wasn't happy at the other role that I was in a different company. Long story short, acting out of that fear, out of that frustration, out of that place lack is why I perpetuated myself from the frying pan into the fire. Like it was I just exchanged a workplace that did not make me happy for another workplace that did not make me happy, because I didn't sit back to really allow what I wanted for myself, for a workplace, for my work environment, for any passion. I didn't sit back and evaluate that, and I acted out of desperation with a little bit of excitement. I was like, oh, somebody wants me. I'm going to get paid more money. Oh, and there was a lot that went along with that. But, it was nice to be wanted, but I didn't necessarily need to act on that want. And so you mentioned gratitude, and you mentioned, taking that time to sit back, even if you're still going to a job, every day, sitting back and kind of evaluating what you want. Right now is a great time to do that. It is an employee market, and, we're seeing such an amazing shift in the employment industry and how employees are standing up for themselves now, and they're no longer going to take corporate slavery and the mistreatment of their employers and all of that. So now's a great time. But for me, I did sit back and say, what are the 3 non-negotiables that are going to come along with if I take another role for a company? What are the 3 non-negotiables? And then work from there. What are my passions? Yes, I have a background in marketing, but do I want to go and market earplugs? I don't know, just throwing that out there. I mean, is that something I want to do, or do I want to market something that I love, that I'm passionate about? Do I want to work in a nonprofit or the not-for-profit and, company that gives back? I had time to evaluate that. I also had time to sit back and heal some of the things. Now, granted, there's some other layers that are coming up, but, being still and allowing myself to see those things, I wanted this break. I manifested this break, and it was absolutely, when I sit down and look at it, the best thing that could have happened to me in that particular time frame. And I'm grateful for it. I am grateful that I was fired.
I've heard people talk about that with the ending of different things, whether it's a job or a career or a relationship or whatever. And sometimes we forget that there's always something to be grateful for. And wherever you are right now, whatever spot you are in right now in your life, it's going to change. Change is a constant. And I've said that in workshops before, and people look at me like, well, that doesn't make sense. But it does make sense. Even if you're in a place where you are between jobs, or you're worried about bills, or you're worried about how to feed your kids, or whatever it is, know that you're not always going to stay in that situation. You can change it. Always, always, always look for something positive. Not necessarily something you can learn from it, because I honestly believe some things happen just because they're supposed to happen, and there's not necessarily something you do or you're supposed to learn from. It will change for you. And I know someone listening right now is in a situation where what you were just describing, you're starting to get worried about the bills, and don't live in fear. Don't make your decisions from a place of fear. Mm-hmm. It will not be the right decision. It'll be a decision. You'll manifest something, but it may not be what you really want, and that's okay. If it makes you feel better about being able to pay your bills, maybe that itself is a reason to do something that really doesn't resonate with you. But once you start realizing that you have control over your own life, taking those opportunities that don't really resonate with you, it becomes a harder decision to make. And I know today, if you were in that same situation, you probably wouldn't have taken that job.
Definitely not.
It was sort of out of the frying pan and into the fire. And I've done that too. And honestly, I think we've all done something like that. I have a friend, I haven't talked to her in probably a decade. But anyway, I used to have this friend, this person I know. She went from relationship to relationship like that, taking no breaks in between. Just her first husband was abusive, so she found herself a boyfriend at the bar who was an alcoholic, and she decided the alcoholic was better than the abuser. So she went from this guy's house to that guy's house. And then when the alcoholic got too bad, she found a drug addict, and then she went from that person's house to that person's house. And I watched her do that for a long time, and it finally became too much, and I just stopped bailing her out. But I often think about what happened. When you're making a decision from a standpoint of, well, that decision is not good but it's better than the bad decision I'm in now. There's some serious inner work you need to do. You know, we've talked so much about how your most important relationship you'll ever have is the one with yourself. And when you are constantly putting yourself into a situation where you could literally be beaten up, you know, look at yourself. Look at the decision that you're making. One of the things that I used to tell people when I was doing counseling was, and I did grief counseling, so that's a cheerful thought, but actually it really was. I would tell people, do not make any big decisions for the first year after the death of a loved one, especially if it's a spouse. Because when we lose someone we love, and some of this was very sudden losses, we automatically go back into a state of fear. And that's why we tell people not to make any big decisions, because you would be making a decision from fear or from lack or from desperation. All of these emotions go right along with losing a spouse, particularly if that spouse was the breadwinner. So there's always other ways. You know, there's always emergency financial assistance from organizations. There's always somebody that you can talk to. Don't alienate yourself. You know, there's always a way through. But sometimes the biggest issues we have can only be resolved when we go through them. You have to push through the fear and push through that sense of lack or sense of self-loathing or whatever it is that you're feeling right now. You just have to push through it and know that better days are ahead. And that's kind of getting off topic there, but it's very, very, very important.
So I think you touched on quite a few things that we can definitely expand on, but that are important. There's the healing. You might pull back a layer and discover something else that needs to be healed, or you might, you know, be triggered down the road. But you mentioned really early on in the beginning of the conversation, sometimes things happen where it's not necessarily something you need to learn from. It could be a reinforcement of what you've already learned, or, you know, showing you that, hey, you have healed. Let's just put this test in front of you to see if you're going to take the same path, and you can walk away from it knowing that you are better, you know, in a better state or what have you. But for me, I just started doing, you know, I'm in this 28-day challenge, and it is a challenge that really changes our mindset and makes us grateful for all of the things that are in our life, not just like a money focus or whatnot. But for me, going back to the money aspect, I always knew I was going to be taken care of. And I've started saying this a lot, and not just tongue-in-cheek, it always works out or I'll be okay, but really looking back at, I was always provided for. I might not have been in the most ideal situation that I wanted for myself, but I was still in some way provided for. Now, that is kind of taking the lesser of two evils, right? If I was in an abusive situation, for example, or a toxic situation, or just a situation where it just wasn't working, you know, to say, hey, at this time I was provided for, that's still being grateful, even for a really crappy situation, because you did have something to be grateful for. And it's just taking the focus off of the bad stuff so that you can heal through that. And for me, I've always, now more so than ever, have said, I've always been provided for. It really has always worked out. It might not have been the ideal situation, but I don't cancel out my gratitude by saying it might not have been the ideal situation. It's looking at that situation and saying, but I was provided for, or my family was provided for, or, you know, when I was a kid, I had food and I had, shelter. And it might not have been, for some, the best situation, but you still had provisions. And it's being grateful for the provisions, even if they weren't how much or the best situation for you. And it really does start to shift just even your feeling of always, I know most people know this or can like look back on it of, I woke up this morning and I was just I wasn't over happy and I wasn't like under happy. I just kind of was. But when I got in the shower, I was so grateful for that hot water because it was like 29 degrees last night. And when we woke up, it was kind of chilly in the apartment. It's still really cold outside. And I was so grateful for that hot shower that made me it made me feel human. It made me feel like a very functioning human. And I know we've talked about just take a shower or take a bath, but it was just so nice to be clean and to have that hot water at the touch. I was just so grateful for that. And because I'm always provided for, I could be so grateful for a shower now, whereas before I would take it for granted. And I was in situations that were not ideal for me.
Yep. I think taking things for granted is something that is so much more common in the United States in particular than in other parts of the world. When you live in an area where there is no clean water, much less hot water, you take everything for granted or very, very, very seriously. And we just have so many conveniences. I have fewer conveniences where I live than most other people do. But, living in San Francisco, you want a drink? Well, you just get out of your house, walk around the corner, there's a convenience store, and
right.
We get so used to that. And I know moving way out here to the middle of nowhere was very, very difficult for me to readjust to, and it took a while. But I learned to really, really recognize when I had, and be grateful for having an excuse to go into town. I would keep a list, and because everything is so far away, I would do a number of errands at one time in one day. I'd spend the whole day in town. And I would get home, and I would be grateful for being home again. But boy, did I have a great attitude when I was in town taking care of things, because it was just something I didn't do that often anymore. And now I actually do it even less. But now I'm grateful for not having to go into town. It's all in really what you get used to in your life. I remember when I was very, very, way too young to have had a husband and a child, I was very grateful for those days where he didn't choke me. You can always find something to be grateful for. When I look back on those days now, I don't even recognize that child that I was. So that's when I was saying, wherever you are now, know it's going to change. I barely even resemble that person today. It was just a complete and total transformation from who I was. And when I talk to people, every once in a while I run into someone I knew back then, they're always shocked at how much I've changed. Allow yourself to change. It was terrifying. Yep. But allow yourself to go through that. I've been physically abused. I've also been mentally and emotionally abused. And of those two different scenarios, I can tell you that broken bones and bruises heal easier. But abuse is abuse. And I know, because I can see the chat here, that there are several people I'm familiar with who are in that situation right now. No, you can change it. You can, I promise. Don't get so paralyzed by your fear that you never allow yourself to move forward. Is it hard? Yes. But can you do it? Yes. So if you're in that situation I was in, well, I'm grateful I didn't get choked today. Look at that seriously. How much do you love yourself and respect yourself if you are allowing that to continue? Know that you can change. I think that is one of the things that I have heard more often from women at battered women's shelters than anything else, is they're afraid. I don't know what's going to happen if I leave here. Nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen 10 minutes from now. Just allow yourself to go through it. Allow yourself to become your own best friend. And magic happens. It really does.
I like that you touched on not trusting yourself, because when I look back at the times where I was not in the best scenario for myself, it was always because I didn't trust that I was capable of taking care of myself, of leaving and starting over. And I've started over 3 different times in my life, and every time I've always come out on top. And that's just because I left the situation that was no longer serving me. That's part of for me, that was the hardest part, was learning how to believe that I was capable of doing it and that I didn't need to be in a situation that wasn't serving me. And then also that, you know what, the other person or parties that were involved in whatever situation I was involved in, they were going to be okay too. That it wasn't my burden to carry how okay they were going to be. They have what they need for a better life for themselves too, whether it's a job, related to a job or related to family or, more intimate relationship than that. And that's something that was hard for me to do as well, was to let go of the burden of, I don't want to hurt this person. But you're not necessarily the best person for that person if you're not being your best version of yourself either. So, I can look back on, and that's something else you can do. Look back on the accomplishments. Even if they're small, look back on the accomplishments. Write them down every day. Be proud of what you've done, what you've overcome so far. And, really pull on that knowledge or that knowing that you did these things when you're having a really bad day. It's gratitude, and also it's okay to brag about your achievements, or to at least even be, aware and recall them to help boost your confidence if you're in a situation where you need to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Building confidence is something that's really, really difficult for a lot of people too. That's probably a little heavy to get into at this point in the show, but yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I am the most grateful for, and I've said this before, I'm saying it again now, is the ability to have shows like ours. I've done podcasting since podcasting became podcasting. And what an amazing thing to be able to do, to reach out over the airwaves with the intention and hope that you will reach those people who most need what you have to say. And, things that we say on the show have always come straight from the heart, and we kind of no holds barred. It's just not more and more. Actually, it's not that we're so unique anymore. I think when we started our show, it was a very unique idea, but that's just an amazing thing. I don't know if you listen to podcasts all the time. I have a lot of friends that have them, so I listen to a bunch of them. But it just reinforces that if you're in a bad spot in your life and you don't know where to turn, there are so many people these days to reach out to. And I know a lot of people who listen to our podcast found us because they were Googling some of the heavy topics that we've talked about. And they've brought other people, and they've brought other people. And, thank you for everyone that listens, for everyone that cares. Please, if you're in a situation where you've not reached out and you don't know what to do and you just happen across us, you can reach out to us. You can reach out through the show link. Find us on Facebook. Lisa is at facebook.com/financial wellness warrior. I am at facebook.com/energy healer and reader Kellie Fitzgerald. I just felt like I had to say that. So please do know you can reach out, and we will do our best to help, even if we can only just listen. Sometimes you just need somebody to listen to. So it's going to change wherever you are right now. We started talking about money magic, and I know we went all over the place, but this all relates right back to financial fitness. Yeah. If you are worried about paying bills, feel you. I've been there. We've all been there. Know that doing a simple ritual, make it where you set aside a couple of minutes every day to do a little mini ritual and prayer. Even if instead of saying anything, you just take a couple minutes to yourself and stare into a candle flame or stare at a rock. That will help. Because in order to have financial fitness, you really need to have a good relationship with yourself. Stop beating yourself up. Start being mindful. I'm having a horrible, horrible, horrible day. Okay. Everybody has horrible, horrible, horrible days sometimes. Yesterday was not a great one for me. But it'll change tomorrow. When you start feeling like you're stringing along a whole bunch of horrible days, stop and clear your head. Go for a walk. Look at a bird. Where I live right now, we have snow-covered mountains outside. Go outside, look at snow. Look at a tree. Whatever it is that will change your perspective. Because then, instead of having a horrible day, you can say, wow, I was really having a horrible day until I changed my perspective. Sometimes that's all it takes to get started in the right direction. And then doing those rituals more attuned to money will make a lot more sense, and they will be a lot more productive. So I think that's about all I have for this week. What do you think, Lisa?
I think that's fabulous.
So thanks, everyone, for listening. We will see you next time. Look for the show. Pay attention to posts about the show because we're going to be making some changes, and I know some of you will be thrilled with them. So have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.